Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Geotab's Chief Executive Officer, Neil Cawse.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Connect 2020. Very, very happy to be here today. I must say, as many of these keynotes and presentations as I do, I always find it really, really hard to present in front of a large audience. And so you always get taught at school the best way to manage that is make sure that you imagine everybody in their underpants. I just don't feel that's right given all the light we have in the room today, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do today. Anyway, I think many of us have come from all over the US and Canada to come thaw out in this beautiful place, San Diego. We're beginning the new decade, 2020, and we're level setting and discussing what we're going to be doing for the next decade and how the world of connected vehicle is going to change. I want to tell you that our teams have worked really hard to bring a conference for you that's mandate is to try and improve the business of all of the partners and customers that are here today. And you ask yourself, well, how are we going to help you improve your business? Well, this is a fantastic networking and collaboration opportunity. Make sure you spend the time to go and meet everybody who's out in the exhibitors today, the partners, introduce yourself to people. There are so many business opportunities that can come out of those relationships that you build today, and so I urge you to do so. How are we going to help our largest customers? Well, by connecting in forums the largest and frankly the best fleets in the world so that they can learn from one another is a way that we can help indirectly make sure that the customers do better. So we mutually win together. We value and truly respect our mutual partnerships. Well, I want to start by talking a little bit about what is connected vehicle and telematics. We have a whole bunch of different folks in the room, from companies that have very large fleets, small fleets, we have companies that have trucks, and so what they understand as connected vehicle and telematics is different. We need to remind ourselves the reasons why our customers pay us money, and so let's reflect a little bit on that a while. Now, I must tell you a story. Long time ago, we tried to figure out how to sell telematics, and we tried every different approach to selling telematics. We looked at it by vertical, by use case, by vehicle type, by segment. And in the end, we settled on selling via our pillars. Our pillars are truly the way telematics works. And you always talk about making sure you listen to your customer. While I agree with that, we have to understand that we are consulting to our customers. When we walk in the door and talk about telematics, we're actually the experts, and our customers are looking towards us for guidance on what is this going to do to my organization? How's this going to make my organization better? And it's actually really important that we can tell them about the pillars and we can open their mind to the art of the possible. It's interesting, and I believe this wasn't quoted by Henry Ford, apparently, but it could have been. And Henry Ford supposedly said, if I asked customers in 1900 what they wanted, they would have said, I wanted a faster horse and buggy. And that is so true, right? We have to open our customers' minds to the art of the possible. So the first pillar that we talk about is the productivity pillar. And the foundation of this pillar is that you cannot manage what you don't measure. And telematics and connected vehicle is all about measuring and understanding what your employees are doing, what your vehicles are doing, so that you can better run your businesses. I liken it to not being able to see around the corner. We assume there's nothing around the corner because we can't see around the corner. And when we do see around the corner, we realize all of the opportunities to improve our businesses and make things better. Anecdotally, we were on the aircraft carrier last night talking to a bunch of different folks and hearing story after story about, things that were lost, things that were happening in the organization that people didn't realize was happening, all made better because now we can see. Imagine if you could do one extra invoice a day by running your business that little bit more efficiently. What if you can automatically tell your customers every single time a parcel is about to be delivered? What if you can update your sales force automatically when your salespeople visit the customers? What if you can find one extra lost container that got mislaid? The other thing about productivity that people don't realize is people's time is the most expensive and valuable asset in a company. I know we talk about managing the fleets, we talk about what is the vehicle doing, how are we going to save money with fuel, but what about people's time? Isn't that the most important thing? The problem is every single business is different. So productivity for each business varies. And that's what makes it hard. So it requires work by the resellers and customers to help bridge this productivity pillar. But the opportunities are absolutely enormous. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar we like to talk about is safety. And obviously people's lives are frankly the most important. But companies don't realize how much even a minor accident costs the business. And I've heard estimates anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. And in fact, 4% of vehicles in the United States will have some kind of accident a year, believe it or not. Now, in our pool of vehicles that we have in Geotab, we have more than 200 accidents happening every single day. That's 80,000 accidents a year. Unfortunately, it also means there's about 1 fatality a day happening in that pool of vehicles. Now, studies have shown, we've got examples of white papers on our website, we've spoken to many, many customers, that you can reduce the accident rate by 30% with telematics and a telematics program. Now, I must be honest, I have heard arguments in the past, companies saying, I don't want to have telematics because I don't want to have the responsibility of putting a program in place to make sure that my drivers are safe. Isn't that crazy? Like for a little bit of cost, all the savings, the improvements in human lives that you can get. So it really is a tiny effort and cost for such benefits. So if we work those numbers out, more than $2.4 billion a year is being spent in the pool of vehicles that we have on accidents alone. And if we can save 30%, that's $720 million that our customers are saving. That more than pays for any telematics program just off this one single pillar. Think about it. Such a tiny effort. But what's more important is the 100 lives that are saved a year because of the reduction in fatalities. 100 lives are saved every year because of telematics and the telematics program. And I mentioned this at one of my previous keynotes, but those people don't walk around with a t-shirt saying, I was saved by Geotab, right? Well, it would be amazing if they did. But the truth is, the telematics program that you have that slows people down, that makes them more careful, makes them wear their seatbelts, leads to saving of lives. So that's pillar number 2. Pillar number 3 is around fleet optimization and the fleets and the vehicles. Geotab has always had the richest data set that you can get from vehicles. But we've had to manually go after those proprietary data in the engine bus one by one, and it's hard, very, very hard. We need to go after the valuable ones like a real odometer, like seatbelt and fuel. Those are the ones that are challenging, and those are the ones that we've been able to get to. But I'm very happy that we'll be able to improve the way we do that because we're now working very closely with the car companies. And that's game-changing, which means we can get more proprietary data in more of the vehicles more of the time. The other thing that's useful is knowing when the engine light's on. The drivers don't know the difference between my engine is about to seize because there is no oil pressure versus there is a minor malfunction that the sensor can be changed the next time I bring the vehicle in for service. So we can tell that. We can highlight that. We can show you that the vehicle needs urgent maintenance or don't worry about it. Real fuel management, knowing the fuel tank level for markets where fuel theft is an issue, but also being able to control fuel, make sure we manage the fuel properly, see whether we need to replace the vehicles, fuel inefficient vehicles, or driver training to make sure that we get better fuel consumption. What about real ODO and service intervals, automatically telling customers when they need to go and maintain their vehicles? Very important. Battery failure detection. Now this is an interesting one. We started working with 2 of our most important large fleets a while ago. And one of the projects started 10 years ago, and one of them was a little bit more recently. And the project was focused around what can we do to make sure that batteries don't fail. It's one of the key components of the electrical system. So you've got your starter motor, you've got your alternator, and you've got your battery. And failure of the electrical system in the field accounts for something like 70% of the reason vehicles fail in the field. 70% of the time, a UPS driver or a Pepsi driver can't start the vehicle, it's because of something on the electrical system. And so tackling the battery issue was an interesting problem. And this is the secret way that Geotab goes to market. We solve customers' problems. We work very closely with the customers. We understand what we can do to address their issue. In fact, the only reason today that our device plugs into an engine bus is because UPS asked us to do that back in 2003. And so by solving customers' problems and then building it into our standard product is the way that we can absolutely bring the most value to the most number of fleets. And so our battery failure detection is a wonderful example. We're not ready to launch it yet, but we will be in future. Pepsi is now using this in production, and this is able to detect that your battery is going to fail within a short window. So within 2 weeks, your battery is going to fail. Before, people had to replace their batteries just in case because they couldn't take the chance the vehicle was going to fail. And the vehicle still did fail if they didn't get to the battery. Now they can say definitively with very high levels of accuracy. I was talking to Bob last night and Brandon on the boat, and they were saying it's unbelievably accurate. We use the battery voltage information to use machine learning to understand whether that battery is showing characteristics of failure. And then we can tell you proactively that you need to replace that battery. So that's another example of the innovation that happens. And this is really important to Geotab. You know, as an organization, we realize we're in the technology space. So two things are going to happen. Either we're going to make our product cheaper month by month by month, or we're going to make it better. So we've been working very hard to continuously improve the product. And we feel like it's a family. When you join the Geotab family, next month, you're going to have some new features in your product. And 6 months later, you're going to have a game-changing feature added as well. And we keep on flowing with that innovation. It's really important. So that's the fleet optimization pillar. The next pillar is the compliance pillar. So here, government compliance, we need to ease the burden on drivers. We need to automate compliance and communication. But there's a lot of opportunities that still can happen in this particular space. What, for example, if my route planning could take into account all my ELD hours? Right now, it's a nightmare. If you are a company that ships product via trucks, you plan your routes, and then you've got to somehow factor in how much driving time each of the drivers have and their rest periods, and it's incredibly difficult to do. We've got to start thinking about how we can help customers do that in a new way. The next pillar is hard to verbalize, but it's one of the most important pillars, and that is our expandability pillar. In a previous life, I was responsible for building big systems and integrations for companies. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest challenges faced by any organization is integrating between systems. We have it at Geotab. We buy a new HR system, and what is the first thing we ask? Does it have APIs? What do the APIs look like? Open APIs are key. We need to be able to automate business processes. Every single time we add a new employee, we don't want to go and recapture that employee's details in 6, 7, 8 different systems. And then every time something changes, we've got to remember to change it in every single system. It's not workable. We need systems that can interconnect. We need to change it in one place and have it propagate everywhere. And that's why open is very, very important. Gone are the days where you buy a mainframe from IBM and IBM runs your business. Today, you select these best-of-breed systems. You select Workday, you select Salesforce, you select Geotab. You select these systems and you stitch them together by open APIs and integration. And so this expandability pillar is also vitally important. Colin today announced a new pillar, our sustainability pillar. And really, this is a major factor that's, we all understand the impact today. And so this is around electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are not simple. You can't fuel them like a traditional gas vehicle where you take 10 minutes to fuel it. You know, you take 6, 7, 8, 10 hours to fuel an EV. You need to manage the charges and the resources. You need to manage range, and we're here to help you do that. What about improving routing to make sure that you're efficient? Instead of going from one side of town back to the other side of town, we can now help you plan those routes and improve efficiency. Managing idling, just reducing the cost of gas by managing idling and optimizing what vehicles do what, makes this pillar a very important pillar. So the bottom line is telematics is good business. Telematics industry is set for very, very high growth. And why? Because it's simply impactful. Every single one of these pillars that I've talked to you about already is a business opportunity on its own. But when you combine them all together and you realize the value that telematics can bring to an organization. I want to talk a little bit about my role as the CEO. My job is to try and run Geotab. And the secret to running any good business is obviously being operationally strong, making sure that you run a good business. But at the same time, you need to have vision. You need to be able to aim the business and the company in the right direction. And unfortunately, the only way to do that is you need to be a little bit of a futurist. So a person who thinks about the future, what is the world going to look like? Whether it's in 2 years, whether it's in 5 years or 10 years. And you have to start the work now so that you're prepared for when that comes out. And so we map out roughly, the way I do it is we map out roughly what is going to change and what is not going to change. Sometimes what's more important is what is actually not going to change. People believe that we're going to have flying cars. People believe we're going to have autonomous vehicles. We're not having autonomous vehicles anytime soon. The last 5% of making a vehicle safe is incredibly difficult to do. And I've talked about that before. So we need to think about what is the future of connected transportation. I think this is a very key part of what I believe is the future of companies in general. First, we have to ask a couple of questions. What is a company? Let's just ask what a company is for a second. Why don't we all work for ourselves? And why do we all sell to one another? What is a company? A company has no obligation to continue to employ somebody. That person can choose to leave. They can resign. We can hire people. We can fire people. So what is a company? Well, a company is a way to organize people with a similar set of activities where they can all focus in a general direction. Nothing more. And there are other examples of how people organize themselves. One of them is a franchise. Right, so if you own a McDonald's franchise, say, you don't work for McDonald's, but you have rules about what you should and what you can and what you can't do, certain standards. So you have to pay them money, certain things happen. Other example is outsourcing. So you take key strategic areas of your business and you outsource it to somebody else. So these are ways of organizing people's activity. I say there is another way to organize people's activity, and that is in an ecosystem like Geotab's. An extended company. We're partners in a more loose way. We have aligned interests and we partner together. And you ask yourself, well, you know, are ecosystems important? Ecosystems are incredibly important. Let's just look at the Apple App Store. I don't know if you remember when Steve Jobs announced the very first version of the iPhone and he held it up for everybody to see. Do you remember that there was no App Store in that first version? It was a web browser, it was a phone, it was email, but it didn't have an App Store. And the game-changing thing was when the App Store was announced a year later. And when the App Store was announced, that is when things changed. Today, we use our phones. We know they're going to be able to call people. We know that they're going to be able to do email and web browsing. That's a given. Right? We buy it because of all the extra apps on the App Store, where you have hundreds of thousands of companies, you know, earning, with billions of apps, earning billions of dollars. Right? And so that's what an open ecosystem does. And we truly believe in open APIs. We believe in preventing uncompetitive lock-in. And it's kind of crazy because now that we're a market leader in some senses, one would think that having a closed proprietary API is the way to keep people locked in. But I think we have to be honest to ourselves and to everybody else, and we have to fight to keep the APIs open. We have to earn the business. We have to make sure that customers always have choice. And we take that quite seriously here at Geotab. We allow competing products on our marketplace, not competing against one another, but products that compete against Geotab. And I say that's okay. If you truly want to have an open and vibrant ecosystem, that's the way that it has to be. So very, very important to the way we think. Another key future is big data. This conference largely talks about big data. There's a big data bootcamp happening. Now, the problem with big data, there's a tremendous amount of hype around big data. We've heard it. It is hard to do big data. It is a problem making sense of all of this information. It's the information versus data argument. And if you know what the difference is, you know, data is that sheet with numbers, filled with numbers. Information is the insights that tell you something valuable that you can go and do in your organization because of the data. We want to be able to turn data into information. And I think you saw Connor present to you the Fleet Insights report. But that is just the very beginning. We are now taking the learnings of that Fleet Insights, improving it, and taking it so that we can benchmark your own fleet against other fleets. Because the poor fleet manager at the end of the month doesn't know where to start. Geotab gives them reams of information. I'll tell you every single stat about what's happening in your organization. But we need to be able to turn around to you and say, benchmarked from a safety perspective for this kind of use case, your vehicles are not safe enough. And oh, click a button over here and you'll put this rule on that will make your vehicles safer. That's the way we need to go to, and that's the focus of Geotab. Using the data that we have in our big data systems, benchmarking it, analyzing it, understanding it, so that we can help every single fleet improve their capabilities. There's some fascinating new work going on in natural language understanding that we're applying to vehicle uses. And it's actually got some very, very interesting results. We are thinking that we're going to be able to predict when a vehicle is going to be used before it's used. If we know that Neil leaves work on a Thursday, fills up with gas and goes and picks up the kids and then goes home. You could imagine a text message going, Neil, why have you not left already? Because the machine learning is tracking what we're doing. And then the next step is to figure out how we can make it better. So we're very excited about what machine learning is going to do. Big data is the future of telematics. I believe that in 10 years' time, nobody is going to be paying for telematics. Telematics will be completely free. We have to manage data very carefully. We have an immense responsibility for data, but that's truly what I believe is going to happen. The other thing about data that may be just worth mentioning is that there's an ecosystem building around data. So just like we have an ecosystem today for hardware and products and add-ons, you will be seeing in 5 to 10 years an ecosystem around data. Companies that can do very interesting things with the data or add additional data sets or come into your organization and help you get the most out of big data. The other thing I want to talk about on the big data side is an example. This is city traffic planning in Nevada. City of Nevada is emerging as a smart city and transportation leader partnering with Waycare. Now, the problem with traffic optimization, we've all seen it. We sit and we wait at red lights for a very large portion of our life. Seems very frustrating. But the problem is it's all based upon simulation. Everything is a simulated event. You put in a computer model, you say, okay, cars travel at roughly this speed, we stop, this is how things work. It's not based off reality. And so it's game-changing to think about what you can do and what we're doing for Nevada by taking the real-world data. What are the kinds of vehicles that are moving? A truck pulls off much more slowly than a regular vehicle. And in fact, if you start adjusting all the patterns, you're probably going to mess everything up. And so by having real-world data that shows you by time of day, by type of vehicle, now we can optimize traffic lights in a way that's never happened before. And we can iterate and we can validate the improvements. It's not theoretical. Now you can make a change to the traffic light patterns, you can monitor it for a week and you can see how it improves things. So there's some really interesting sessions that actually talk about this particular case, and there's a white paper on our website as well. I personally think that the entire smart city connected vehicle is going to be a billion-dollar business by itself in 10 years' time. I really do believe that. Connected vehicle and OEM. We're working very, very hard to integrate the data from every single OEM. This is the future. We're very attached to our little device, but we understand that getting data directly from the vehicle is really the way that it has to be at the end of the day. And so every single OEM will have its data integrated into the Geotab platform in the future. But in the meantime, the most proactive OEMs are now integrated. As you know already, in October, we already announced our integration with Ford Data Services. And so we're expanding into new markets with Ford all over the world. Customers are unlikely to buy a vehicle from one car manufacturer. And a company like Geotab is needed to give that customer a single pane of glass where they can see all of the vehicles throughout their entire company. My Geotab is world leading. Our rules engine, our report writer, which you use Microsoft Excel to write reports. Our grouping and aggregation places our web portal in a different league. And so the OEMs don't need to reinvent the wheel. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on building my Geotab, the analytics in the marketplace through the years, and it's very, very hard to replicate. We can help the OEMs accelerate their connected vehicle plans. We're very pleased to announce another exciting integration this week, our integration with General Motors. The Geotab integrated solution for GM offers complete visibility within one platform for all customers' vehicles and allows the customer to avoid storing any hardware and all the logistics associated with hardware. So for more details of this, please see Sherry's session on Wednesday at 1:30. Another key element to telematics' future is the adoption of telematics in heavy truck. In heavy truck, in 2014, we had 36,000 devices in heavy truck. Now in 2020, Geotab has more than 500,000 devices in trucks. That means that every 1 in 4 or every 1 in 5 trucks that you see on the road today in North America has a Geotab device installed. It's amazing. So it's changing trucking. We have integrations with Volvo Mack, with Donaldson, with Cummins, Eaton, Bendix, and Elios. So today we're going to announce the DriveWise integration, which will help fleets and drivers save time and money by using waste-scale bypass at more than 800 sites in 47 different states and provinces. Integrations are key in the trucking space. As such, we're excited to announce that Geotab and Elios have integrated to bring you Unify, an all-in-one driver workflow solution with customization and an open API in an open platform. Safety is also key, and integrating Bendix commercial vehicle systems in with Safety Direct through a web portal that will allow you to seamlessly transmit video and event data directly into the Geotab platform is also another big announcement that we're making here today. Very excited about that. If you want to see more about this, please see Scott's session tomorrow, 11 and 2:30. So these are the things that we're doing on the heavy truck side that I think are important. The other thing that's important to be for us to be successful in the future is a focus on off-road. There are a tremendous number of vehicles that are in the off-road space. So we're talking about construction vehicles, any kind of off-road vehicles. There's a huge opportunity waiting for all of us there. And so we're adding more integrations now into John Deere, and we're here to announce that. If you want to go to Bob Raff's session on Wednesday at 3:30, you can learn more about that too. Now, I want to tell you what my vision for the future is. This is something that we talk about at our board meetings. This is what I believe Geotab's single-minded goal is for the next 5 years. We want to be the operating system of the connected vehicle. Now, operating systems of the future don't run on hardware. They run in the cloud. And we need to provide the switching, the provisioning, the rules engine, the analytics, the open APIs, the security, the monitoring, the reliability that's needed by connected vehicles that's going to drive businesses in the 21st century. And so that is what Geotab is focused on. And that is why our aggressive expansion into the global markets, why we're partnering, why the ecosystem is so important to the future of Geotab. Now, I want to bring us back to the present for a second. And I want to talk about, there was an announcement made by ABI Research. Thank you. Now, I want to say this is not Geotab being number one. This is our partnership being number one. I want you to understand this. We are not a complete company if we don't have our ecosystem and partners. So very, very happy that we're recognized as the world's number one. Very humbled and aware that the people in this room made it happen. Our partners and key customers were the reason we were able to get here. So we have another really awesome announcement to make. Just gone through the 2 million subscriber mark here at Geotab. Very, very excited about that. In February 2018, we announced that Geotab had succeeded its goal of becoming the very first company to achieve 1 million connected vehicles built on a single open platform. My jacket here today still says Geotab 1 million on it. Feels like yesterday. Fast forward 23 months later, pleased to share with you that we have now surpassed the 2 million subscriber mark. This achievement in such a short time would really, truly not be possible without you folks. It's the hard work, it's the dedication, an amazing network of partners and staff to bring this together. So we look forward to celebrating this milestone with you over the next few days. The other thing that to me is truly amazing, and in the interest of transparency and openness, you know that we're an open company. Our expected revenues are set to hit $420 million for 2020. What's more interesting to me than that is when we do calculations to figure out the size of the ecosystem, there's an additional $550 million of revenue that are occurring in the expanded ecosystem. That's you folks. And that, to me, is truly amazing. That is what a true partnership is about. But we're not done. We all have more interesting challenges to solve, more assets to manage, more geographies to cover, and more competitors to win business from. And so we are going to continue to be focused, and we're going to drive forward here at Geotab and as our true partnership. I want to take us back to the present for a second, talk a little bit more about what we're delivering for smart cities. As you know, we acquired a company called BSM Technologies, 300 people organization, to help bolster our winter operations and rail. And it's to help us on our smart city program. We've worked very closely with New York City on their Vision Zero program. It's a program, I believe, set up in Sweden, where the concept is to try and get the number of fatalities and accidents in the city down to zero. Too many people are dying unnecessarily on the road. And so we're helping New York City with the data that allows them to understand how it's working. We have a big data tool that allows them to look at the effects of their traffic calming measures. When they put speed bumps in the road or they narrow a road, they can actually go and look at, well, how much did it actually slow vehicles down by? And that's really interesting. We have a lot happening on the winter operations side. I think you've seen, if you haven't seen the little snow in the car in the corner, go take a look. We're integrating all the technologies from BSM to be able to do material management for winter operations, spreader controller data logging, to be able to do service level compliance for cities and towns so that they can see operations maps and they can see where all the vehicles are, and they can make sure that all the winter data is displayed. And they can aggregate and see how much material handling has actually happened. We also have a vision for 511. We want to be able to offer for the entire North American landscape one website that you can go to see the state of the roads, whether there is snow on those roads, whether the snowplows have gotten to those roads and cleared them or not. And so we have a vision to try and build that over the next couple of years. We've made broader investments in IoT and hardware. We acquired a company called Intendia, which is an engineering company based in Europe that specializes in IoT. So now we're able to offer IoT, a tachograph for Europe. We're able to offer cold chain monitoring. We can do general IoT data collection. I'm not sure if you know, but Geotab today supports more than 50 third-party GPS tracking devices in our own product. We are an open platform, so we're not limited to only our hardware, and that's always been our focus and our approach. I want to talk about EVs. EVs are coming. By some forecast, this was amazing to me, that in the next 5 years, us as a consumer, it's going to cost us more money, total cost of ownership, to buy a vehicle than it is, a gas vehicle, than it is to buy an EV. So when you look at what you pay for your vehicle over its life, it's going to cost you money to own a gas vehicle, which is super interesting. And that's going to happen. That big transition is going to happen in the next 5 years. And it's easier for consumers to adopt electric vehicles. I understand from a commercial point of view, it's hard for us to adopt it, but we get pressures to do so. Now, one of the things that faces the poor fleet manager is EV battery degradation. This is all new stuff, right? Leading edge of adoption. It's a big concern. We've heard from the fleet managers that what happens to the health of the batteries over time. It has a direct impact not just on the maximum usable range over time, but also on the resale value. So we're happy to announce that we're offering the EV battery degradation tool that examines real-world performance in EVs over time and gives you a detailed comparison between all the different vehicle types to make sure that you can do informed decisions. Adopting EVs in an organization is a daunting task. Fleet managers don't have the time or knowledge to know which EVs can perform within their range limitations or costs, and which vehicles to switch to EVs. And that's why we're launching the EVSA. It's a fancy term for a report that will allow you to see in your organization which vehicles you can switch out for EVs because of the range, the load, the time of year, the role that they're filling, and which ones you should leave alone. And that means you're going to have a successful EV program as opposed to an unsuccessful EV program. We launched that in November in Europe, and we are now launching it in North America too. And Matt's session on Wednesday at 9:30 is where the actual launch will occur. Please attend the great EV sessions on Wednesday. Electrification is coming fast, and you really need to learn more. The next thing that we're trying to do is promote the ecosystem. And one of the things that we're doing to do this is our Talk Labs initiative. So Talk Labs is a way of us taking new ideas that people come to us with, new product ideas, and helping them start their own business. So we provide access to capital. We provide access to market through the marketplace. We provide engineering know-how. And we have a proven track record and entrepreneurial spirit. And so we have our first 2 cohorts have been done, and we're very, very excited about the companies that are in our Talk Labs program and about what they're going to be able to offer everybody in the future. I want to give you one example of thinking outside the box that's happened in the Talk Labs program, which I find fascinating. Boeing manufactures aircraft. Ford, GM are manufacturing products, and in these massive manufacturing plants, there are tens of thousands of tools. There's materials that is moving through the process. Managing that is a nightmare, and it very much relates to something that we do already. Think about the assets that you have on the roads. The road network is a very, very similar problem to managing the assets that you have in a big manufacturing plant. The only difference is that instead of tracking a truck, you track the tools and the equipment. And guess what? Bluetooth 5.1 was released a while ago, and it promises to offer inch-level resolution on tracking indoors. So that means you'll be able to take these inexpensive, widely available tags, attach them to everything in your organization, and now you'll be able to use the back end of Geotab after we modify it a little bit to be able to set up rules, to be able to do things like utilization. Which of my tools are not being used? Are the tools in the wrong place? I need to move them over here. Where is that tool? Where did it go? Don't let that go outside of this area. So there's a whole new area of indoor tracking that could well be opened up tomorrow. These are the kind of innovations that we strive for and that we look for in terms of the ecosystem. Government. This is one to really talk about. I'm sure many of you are aware, but some of you are maybe not. The United States in general leads the world in IT investment into business systems for productivity. The Americans invest more than anybody else in terms of automating business, improving business through IT systems. US government is following the same leadership approach by adopting products like Geotab. It allows government to hold themselves accountable. It reduces waste. And so using products like telematics in government is really important. The different levels of government have different use cases. The federal, US, and Canadian fleets, it's about right-sizing and optimization. The state and provincial, it's more about helping with financial and environmental objectives, enforcing regulatory compliance, and tracking policy effectiveness. And at the local level, it's about bringing situational awareness into public works and making our road networks safer. Please see many of the great presentations and special guests from government and have a conversation with the government team. I'll be honest that we haven't done as good a job as we could have on the marketplace. I think the marketplace is very important in the future of the ecosystem and driving the ecosystem. And one of the big mistakes that we made is we don't even offer our own products on the marketplace. How can we be getting customers to go and buy your camera solutions, going and buying your neat add-ons and your software and your integration, if customers don't even go to the marketplace themselves to buy the Geotab product? And so we have rapid evolution, we call it MVP, minimum viable product, 1, 2, and 3, where we're introducing buy now directly into the marketplace. Now, it's under full control of the resellers. The resellers completely control that experience. They decide what products can be turned off. They decide the margins. They decide what it looks like. But it now becomes really easy. When your customers want a new device, they don't have to pick up the phone and call you, and there's this red backwards and forwards. They click a button in the software, and they say, give me another one of those devices. Give me another IOX over here. And so it's just going to make it seamless. It's going to make it easier. Why should we not automate it? It should be automated. It should be simple. So we're very, very happy to see. So please attend the session on Thursday to see more about this. We're very excited. Open API. We've talked about the importance of open in the ecosystem. So we need to make strong investments in API. Now, I know not everybody is technical and not everybody knows what an API is, but an API is really the bridge between systems. It's the thing that allows one system to talk to another system. And if your system can't talk to anybody, it becomes an island. So we're making single sign-on better so that you don't have to sign into 5 systems. You can sign in once into something like my Geotab or your other system, and it's just single sign-on everywhere. We're improving data security. Data security is the nightmare of our time. We have to be very, very careful. And we're helping our partners follow best practice around security. So we're here today to announce API version 2. The ability to draw directly on the Geotab maps. For the first time, our partners have complete control about what the user will see on the map. They can add images, they can add text to maps. So you could, for example, create an add-in that says, show me where the cheapest gas stations are. Show me where I have video. Highlight for me the goods, the customer stops. We also give you the ability not just to add buttons, but to have a panel where you can show additional information and control the right-click options. So you can integrate directly into our platform so that when customers right-click on a vehicle, you can dispatch it or you can add your own menu functionality directly in. Geotab Drive is becoming a first-class place to run your own driver-facing apps. So in conclusion, the industry is buzzing about open approaches to technologies. Customers need and want multiple platforms. They need them to seamlessly integrate in a way that covers all of their vehicle tracking needs, their diagnostic needs, their compliance needs, and even video safety needs. Geotab's strategy is to build a world-class platform that allows partners to integrate the solutions that clients want. It's impossible for a single vendor to do it all and to do it well. Video is becoming a mainstream fleet technology with many benefits to clients, from safety programs through to compliance and productivity. You told us you want to be able to pick the best solutions for your use case, and you want to have those video solutions work seamlessly with Geotab. And so we have responded by expanding the integrated video telematics options in the Geotab marketplace. In light of all of this, I'm excited to jointly announce the important partnership between Geotab and the largest video telematics company in the world. They have a stellar reputation. They have state-of-the-art video technology, and they're a market share leader. They have a continued heritage of strong investments in technology and solving customers' issues. I want to congratulate Brandon and his team on their successes to date. Well done. I would like to call on Brandon Nixon, CEO of Lytx, to the stage to join me on stage, tell me about Lytx and what this new partnership and jointly developed integration means for our partners and customers. Brandon, please come up and join me.